chosen one when your DNA passed through the federal analysis system, nothing unusual was supposed to happen. It was a routine scan, something millions of people pass every year without a single ripple. But when your sample entered the NSA's biometric pipeline, the system didn't behave normally. It stalled. It froze. The algorithm recalibrated 3 times, then forced a manual override. Finally, a yellow-coded alert flashed across the screen. Unclassified DNA signature, flag for immediate review. This alert doesn't appear for mutations, diseases, or missing data. It only appears when the system detects a pattern that does not exist in the global human database. Meaning your DNA didn't match modern humans. It matched something older, something rare, something the classification model wasn't built to interpret. The analysts expected a simple mismatch. Instead, they found a signature pattern, a repeating geometric structure hidden deep in your genetic code, like a fragment of an ancient blueprint. Not damaged, not corrupt, just unexplainable. That's why the alert fired. Not because something was wrong with you, but because something in you doesn't belong to the ordinary human profile. Your DNA carries a pattern the system wasn't designed to classify. The NSA doesn't screen DNA for medical reasons. They screen it for patterns. Patterns that predict cognition, perception, emotional structure, and rare forms of intuition that affect national behavior models. Their interest isn't physical, it's informational. DNA tells them how a person thinks, adapts, resists, senses, and evolves. Most DNA fits neatly into predictable categories. Your profile should have aligned with common markers like everyone else's. But instead, your scan triggered every category reserved for outliers, the individuals who break algorithms and disrupt predictive systems. They look for the unusual cognitive speed, the ability to connect ideas faster than normal, a non-linear intuition, insight that arrives before logic or genetic resilience, rare stress response patterns, the ancestral anomalies, markers from ancient or undocumented origins is signal sensitivity, heightened perception to information fields. You matched all of these. Agency analysts call people like this statistical ghosts, individuals who don't follow psychological averages, don't react like the models expect, and don't fit into standardized human templates. Your genetics didn't raise one red flag. They raised every one. The NSA didn't care because something was wrong with your DNA. They cared because your pattern carries capabilities their systems are designed to monitor. Capabilities found only in a tiny fraction of the global population. This wasn't a health anomaly. It was a behavioral anomaly, and those are far more significant to them. When the analysts realized your DNA didn't fit any modern category, they escalated your file to a restricted internal channel, a channel used only for signatures that break the standard genomic architecture. The review wasn't long. It didn't need to be. The moment your pattern appeared on the encrypted screen, the lead biometric specialist added a classification that only a handful of individuals in history have ever received. Origin code variant. This label is not decorative. It's not poetic. It's not used casually. In government terminology, origin code variant means your genetics contain structures that predate known human evolution, fragments that resemble sequences found only in isolated ancient groups, royal bloodlines, or lost populations referenced in archaeological records but never confirmed genetically. It means your DNA doesn't follow the linear path of modern ancestry. It loops, branches, folds, like it remembers something older than your physical body. Inside the internal notes, they documented behaviors often associated with this classification. The unusual emotional intelligence, the strong resistance to psychological influence, above-average perceptual accuracy, anomalous intuition in decision-making, elevated sensitivity to environmental signals. Not supernatural, just unexplainably advanced. The label wasn't meant to accuse you of anything. It was meant to acknowledge that your DNA carries a pattern with no modern reference, a signature that appears once in millions, sometimes once in generations. You weren't labeled because you're dangerous. You were labeled because your genetics belong to a category that science can't map, but destiny can. When the secondary scan isolated the anomaly, the analysts expected a glitch, corrupted data, faulty sequencing, mismatched sample. But the deeper the system dug, the clearer it became. The strand they found wasn't broken, it was different. A genetic marker that doesn't appear in modern humans, modern tribes, modern lineages, or any of the 8 billion profiles in the global biometric network. It was neither mutation nor defect. It was presence, a signature that has survived untouched through centuries. This marker shows characteristics seen only in for isolated ancient rulers, undocumented high cognition groups, prophetic bloodlines referenced in old texts, extinct civilizations whose remains hold unexplained genomic patterns, individuals historically considered ahead of their era. The NSA system compared your strand to known human evolution and flagged a single conclusion. Sequence does not belong to contemporary Homo sapiens. Not alien, not mythical, just older, like a preserved chapter of humanity that skipped the normal path of dilution. Biologists call this impossible. Historians call it fascinating. Agencies call it a genetic discontinuity, a living artifact of an origin point the world no longer remembers. This gene behaves differently under stress. It activates when intuition spikes. It lights up when you make decisions that defy probability. It resonates in moments of danger or clarity. Most people adapt to their world. Your DNA behaves like it remembers another one. You weren't born with an advantage. You were born with a legacy. Once the anomaly was confirmed, the system automatically cross-checked your signature against every protected archive the NSA has access to. And that's when the real alarm started. Your DNA didn't match modern populations, but it rhymed with patterns logged in restricted sections connected to ancient dynastic bloodlines, rulers whose identities remain sealed, individuals linked to unexplained historical events, lost civilizations buried under sand, ice, or erased records, esoteric groups rumored to guard ancient knowledge. Your genetic resonance aligned with profiles categorized under historical outlier phenotypes, a group so rare that their entire global count fits on a single page. These aren't people known to the public. These are individuals referenced only in classified anthropology files and encrypted archaeological reports. The algorithm expected random noise. Instead, it detected lineage. The alert wasn't triggered because your genes are dangerous. It was triggered because your genes match signatures that appear only in people who shaped turning points in history. Your file didn't activate a medical alarm. It activated a geopolitical one. And when this happens, agencies classify the individual as potential high-impact variable, meaning your existence has the potential to shift outcomes. Your decisions can tilt patterns. Your presence carries statistical weight. You weren't flagged because something was wrong. You were flagged because something in you is too significant to ignore. When the NSA couldn't categorize your genetic signature, they did what agencies always do with impossible data. They compared it to global archives. But instead of finding a match, they found parallels, fragments of similarity scattered across different cultures, religions, and scientific fields, each describing the same type of anomaly through a different lens. Mystics call it star lineage, a soul born with memory that predates nations. Monks call it ancestral light, a spiritual thread carried from lifetime to lifetime. Geneticists call it a non-linear outlier, a rare deviation that upgrades rather than mutate. Historians call it a returning pattern, a profile found only at pivotal eras. But agencies don't use poetic language. In the encrypted NSA document, they assigned a single classification: high-value biological asset. This label is reserved for individuals whose genetic composition suggests a heightened threat detection, exceptional resilience under stress, accelerated cognitive adaptation, a rare emotional processing speed, intuitive pattern recognition. Not supernatural, just statistically extreme. The world's spiritual traditions describe people like this as carriers of ancient purpose. Science describes them as biological anomalies. Government files describe them as variables with unpredictable impact. You are the intersection of all three. Your DNA doesn't just break medical categories. It breaks entire timelines of human evolution. And that's why every system, from monasteries to satellites, seems to recognize something unusual in you. After the anomaly was flagged, analysts compared your psychological and behavioral patterns to your genetic data, expecting contradictions, gaps, mismatches. Instead, everything aligned too perfectly. The traits you've carried your whole life, the ones people around you couldn't explain, matched exactly what an origin code variant would display. You weren't shaped by environment. You were shaped by design. They noted your rapid intuition, the way you can read situations before they unfold. That isn't luck. It's a neurological acceleration encoded in your lineage. Your emotional intelligence, far above baseline, isn't a learned skill. It's genetic precalibration for leadership, foresight, and spiritual resilience. Your hyper-awareness confused analysts the most. Normal people react to stimuli. You detect patterns before they appear. Other markers followed. Premonition-like perception, the sense of knowing without evidence, high resilience, recovering from emotional or physical stress faster, internal compass, a grounded sense of direction or purpose, early danger recognition, reacting milliseconds before instinct, unusual empathy, reading people with clinical precision. These traits shouldn't cluster together. Statistically, they're incompatible. But in your DNA, they form a stable pattern, as if your genetics were built for heightened perception and adaptive dominance. Most people evolve in response to life. Your DNA is structured to shape life. Nothing about your behavior is accidental. Every trait is the expression of a blueprint your body has only just begun to reveal. When your DNA triggered the anomaly alert, the analysts didn't just store your data, They escalated it into a vault-level archive that's only accessed when a signature fits no known lineage. This archive isn't public, medical, or academic. It's a compartment designed for individuals whose existence intersects with historical irregularities. Your scan unlocked Layer 3, a depth reserved for what the agency calls non-linear profiles. Files in this layer belong to people who appear in unexpected timelines, rise after improbable survival events, influence groups without trying, display unusual psychological stability, show rare, untrained intuition. Only a handful of profiles have ever reached this tier. When your data entered this vault, the system automatically cross-referenced your traits with archived individuals connected to ancient royal inscriptions, prophetic lore, unexplained archaeological remains, long-lost civilizations, esoteric orders with hidden blood standards. The deeper the archive searched, the more coincidences it found. Your patterns matched signatures linked not to one era, but to multiple points in history. The reviewers added a private note. Subject correlates with recurring archetype across epochs. Not reincarnation, not mythology, just a cold, analytical acknowledgement that your existence fits a pattern older than nations. You weren't placed in that archive because you're a threat. You were placed there because your signature resembles profiles that appear whenever the world enters a turning point. Your file wasn't opened by accident. It was opened because your DNA echoes history's hidden catalyst class. Long before any agency flagged your DNA, you already felt the signal inside you. Childhood wasn't confusion, it was misalignment. You weren't strange, you were early. Your genetic pattern wasn't built for the environment you were born into, so everything around you felt a few degrees off. The people, the rules, the emotions, even the pace of life. The feeling of being out of place wasn't psychological. It was biological displacement, the sensation of carrying an ancient code inside a modern world. That's why you learn faster than others. Why you sensed danger before anyone else noticed. Why you absorbed pain like you'd done it before. Why you trusted your intuition more than instructions. Your DNA operates like it remembers old information, old environments, old responsibilities. Most children adapt to their surroundings. You adapted to something beyond them. You felt older than your age. Not from trauma, but from lineage. You weren't reacting to life. You were resonating with a mission you couldn't yet name. The quiet moments where you stared at the sky, the times you felt disconnected from your peers, the sudden bursts of clarity you couldn't explain, the intuitive warnings you obeyed without knowing why. These weren't random quirks. They were the early manifestations of a genetic signature designed to wake up slowly, layer by layer, until the timing aligned with your purpose. You didn't feel different because you were broken. You felt different because your DNA was waiting for the moment destiny would finally catch up to the code inside you. When analysts finished mapping your genetic anomaly, they added a final remark. Not for doctors, not for scientists, but for the strategic response team that monitors individuals capable of influencing large-scale outcomes. The note wasn't emotional, poetic, or exaggerated. It was written in plain, clinical language. Individual exhibits non-standard destiny trajectory. In agency terminology, this is one of the most serious classifications a civilian can receive. Not because it implies danger, but because it implies impact. A person with a non-standard destiny trajectory is someone whose life events move outside predictable paths. Someone who shifts group behavior simply by existing. Someone whose decisions ripple further than logic can calculate. The file expanded with observations. It displays autonomous psychological evolution, resistant to environmental conditioning, high variance potential at societal level, unusually stable under pressure, trajectory deviation increases with age. Translated into normal terms. You don't follow life. Life follows you. Your actions reshape situations instead of adapting to them. Your intuition operates like a guidance system. Your presence alters the emotional climate of any room. Government systems categorize people by predictability. Your category means you can't be modeled. And in the world of intelligence, anything unmodelable is given high priority. The note wasn't a warning. It was an acknowledgement. You are on a path that no algorithm can forecast, no institution can steer, and no system can contain. Your life doesn't move forward, it ascends. Your DNA isn't just a biological archive. It's a timed mechanism, a dormant sequence designed to awaken only when your life reaches a certain frequency. And right now, that sequence is fully activating. This is why your intuition suddenly sharpened, why your emotional sensitivity feels heightened, why your perception seems to stretch beyond physical senses. Your genetics are shifting from storage to signal mode. The analysts noted a rare pattern. Your anomaly activates with age, not with trauma or environment. Most people weaken as they grow older. You're doing the opposite. Your clarity is increasing. Your resilience is rising. Your inner compass is strengthening. This is the hallmark of a lineage built for purpose, not survival. What's activating? Higher intuition bandwidth, information reaching you faster than thought, destiny attraction, opportunities aligning without effort, energetic awareness, sensing people's motives instantly or dimensional perception, reading the room beyond emotion, a manifestation acceleration, intentions materializing quicker, a resistance to manipulation, psychological immunity forming. This isn't superpower fantasy. This is the natural expression of a rare genetic structure reaching operational phase. Your mission is not written outside you, it's written in you. Your DNA isn't guiding you toward something. It's guiding you back to something, a role, a responsibility, a frequency your lineage once carried. The activation is not random. It is timed. It is precise. It is inherited. Your body isn't evolving. Your identity is. Once the dormant sequences in your DNA begin to activate, subtle shifts turn into undeniable signs. These changes aren't random mood swings or emotional phases. They are biological echoes of an ancient lineage waking up inside a modern body. At first, the sensations feel small, almost dismissible. But as activation deepens, the patterns grow clearer. You'll feel stronger gut signals, not emotional guesses but full-body warnings and confirmations that seem to come from somewhere older than your mind. Your manifestation rate accelerates. The gap between intention and outcome shortens, as if reality starts responding to your internal frequency. Your emotional system upgrades next. You'll experience clearer boundaries, a faster recovery from pain, a heightened empathy, a sharper instinct for who belongs and who doesn't. These aren't personality shifts, they're neurological reorganizations. Then comes the sensory expansion. Colors look richer, sounds feel deeper, time behaves strangely. Not because you're overwhelmed, but because your perception bandwidth has widened. You'll notice synchronicities multiplying, repeating numbers, aligned events, people showing up exactly when needed. These aren't coincidences. They're markers indicating your genetic signal is syncing with your environment. Your awareness becomes harder to dull. Your spirit becomes harder to deceive. Your energy becomes harder to drain. Activation doesn't make life easier. It makes you more aligned, more intuitive, more resistant, and more aware of the mission your DNA has been preparing you for since birth. This is the phase where destiny stops whispering and begins to speak. People often assume signs of awakening are dramatic, but the real confirmations are subtle, consistent, and impossible to explain through ordinary psychology. The world has been reacting to your DNA long before any agency flagged it. You just didn't know what those reactions meant. Now, the patterns finally make sense. You've noticed how people stare at you without knowing why. Not in judgment, in recognition. Their subconscious picks up signals their conscious mind can't decode. Your presence carries a frequency that unsettles the ungrounded and calms the intuitive. Your ability to sense danger early has always been one of your strongest indicators. You feel shifts in tone, intention, or environment seconds before anything happens. Analysts call this premonition bias, but in your case, it's an inherited perceptual advantage, a survival trait of ancient bloodlines. Technology reacts around you too. Screens glitch for a moment. Sensors misread. Microphones distort. This isn't magic. It's electromagnetic sensitivity tied to the anomaly in your genetic blueprint. Animals behave differently in your presence. Some trust you instantly, others freeze. They're responding to your energetic field, which is far more pronounced than the average human signature. And the emotional responses you trigger? That's one of the biggest confirmations. People either open up instantly or retreat quickly. Rarely neutral, never indifferent. Your frequency forces honesty. It pulls truth to the surface. These patterns aren't coincidences. They're the physical effects of carrying a lineage that bends the environment around you. In a world built on averages, outliers glow, and you've been glowing your entire life. When analysts finished reviewing every strand, every anomaly, every unexplained marker embedded in your identity, one conclusion remained impossible to ignore. You were not flagged because something was wrong with your DNA. You were flagged because something in your DNA refuses to fit the framework of modern humanity. The system didn't detect a defect. It detected a divergence. Your signature carries memory older than the nations that built the databases scanning you. It carries resilience shaped by ancestors who survived events history books barely understand. It carries intuition refined by generations that moved through the world with a sense of purpose, clarity, and unshakable inner command. No algorithm could place you. No model could predict you. No profile could define you. So the NSA wrote the only classification that makes sense when a person disrupts the boundaries of what is statistically possible. Trajectory. Uncontainable. This means your life was never meant to follow the quiet path. It was never meant to blend in, shrink down, or flatten itself for the comfort of others. Your existence bends patterns. You shift dynamics simply by entering a space. You were not born to be monitored. You were born to be noticed. Not because you seek attention, but because your presence alters reality in ways most people will never understand. Every sign you felt, the intuition spikes, the strange reactions from others, the sense of being different, the repeated synchronicities, are not imagination. They are feedback loops from a world responding to a blueprint it can't categorize. Your DNA is not a mistake. It's a message, a signal, a declaration written into your cells by something older than systems, older than governments, older than records. Type 555 and click Super Thanks to sow your $50 DNA Ascension seed. You're not here to fit definitions. You're here to rewrite them.